I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for joining me for another BDSM United podcast. Today, I wanted to share some bad news and also some good news for submissive men. Recently, I was doing a deep dive into the resources that are available specifically aimed at the male submissive. And really, my search left me with a sour taste in my mouth. Everything that I could get my hands on for the most part was kink related and felt aimed at turning men into pieces of meat. There was so little available about having an actual DS relationship, an actual power exchange relationship. If I were a male submissive and looked at what's available, I too would falsely think that it was all about kink and role play. As we've learned numerous times, doing kinks, especially role play, falls within the realm of being a top and a bottom. But if you're looking to be a dominant or submissive within a relationship dynamic, such as a dom A and sub, a master or mistress slave, or a mommy dom little boy, then relationship is the centerpiece of a relationship dynamic. The good news, though, for a male sub is that everything that was written about dominance and submission of other genders or sexual orientations, all of those things, they apply to you. It's really all the same for everyone. And while I understand that you want representation, for now, you're going to have to use what's available. I actually encourage you as you grow, perhaps to write resources for yourself that match your dynamic. Instead of relying on everyone else to be your voice, speak up. You be the voice of male submissives. But the bad news for the male submissive is that dames, mistresses, and mommies are reading the stuff that's out there too. Most books written for them are making them into tops and are ditching a lot of the relationship stuff altogether. There's little to no emphasis on high moral character on their part. It's just all about kinks. And I understand we live in a world that mostly assumes that male dominance is normative. Yet the pendulum has really swung too far with what I read. And I read over 15 books on the topic, just grasping and looking for anything that had to do with dominant and submissive relationships. So, finding a dominant that is foremost a decent human being may be a challenge when they're being told to abandon relationship for the role play and the kink. Female dominance, I also understand that you want to use resources that give you representation, but it also looks like you're going to have to use what's already available in the world of relationship based DS and MS, or else you'll fall into the trap of topping instead of being an actual dame. Doing kinks are awesome, don't get me wrong, but relationship is at the heart of power exchange. So learning to do relationship well matters to being an effective dominant or submissive. I oftentimes recommend the books by, and this isn't any kind of paid endorsement at all, but I often recommend the books of Dr. Robert Rubel, Rubel. You can find them on Amazon, for instance. And he has things like BDSM Basics Relationships. And then he has some more advanced books on master slave relationships. And he has a really good book on protocol as well. But I recommend his Basics of BDSM. He has one that is about learning to be involved in community. And then he has a second one that is learning to be involved in dominant and submissive power exchange relationships. That's really the book. And while it is somewhat gendered towards a male dominant and a female submissive, it really, like I said earlier, all of those resources, you just have to plug in your gender or whatever works in your relationship dynamic. And I really encourage you to ignore a lot of the other books out there that will turn you into a top instead of being an actual dominant in a power exchange relationship. I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for joining me for this BDSM United podcast where I shared some bad news and some good news too for male submissives. You can find all of our resources at www.bdsmunited.com. We recently did a two-part series on male submissives and on dames where women are dominants too. So look in our podcast archive for those two episodes. You'll find those invaluable and they really relate to this topic well. It's been a joy speaking with you today, and I'll talk with you again soon.